Welcome back. You're watching rolling coverage of the unprecedented India-China border talks. Now, we received some bit of breaking news a few minutes back that the formal component and the photo op has just taken place a few minutes ago. That breaking news update coming in from Abhishek Kapoor, our executive editor. So there were informal talks this morning. Now we have a confirmation of that. So when we told you this morning at around 9:30, those that marked the beginning of the informal component. Now the formal component of the talks have now begun. Part of our rolling coverage, and the panel of experts joining us here this afternoon on Public TV. Colonel S. Dinny, he was a former commanding officer of an infantry battalion at Pangong Tso from 2015 to 2017. Perhaps the biggest voice on this broadcast this afternoon, who can tell us the nitty-gritties of the reality, the ground reality, and what happens now. Colonel Dinny, good afternoon, and thank you for speaking to Republic TV. Why don't you tell us the ground realities as you see it? Nobody knows Pangong Tso in today's discussion better than you. You've commanded the battalion there. You've also shared that map with us, which Shawan will take it forward with you. But why don't you tell us, Colonel Dinny, about the ground situation as you see it?
Okay. Thank you. And the ground situation, as we all know, that the major part of the escalation, of the current escalation, is happening in the area between Finger 4 and Finger 8. And this particular area has always been under dispute, and primarily it is because we claim till Finger 8, which is our perception of our LAC, and the Chinese claim till Finger 4, which is their perception of the LAC. And between these is about 8 kilometers, and the conflict still date has been happening over this period and in and around this area, but primarily in this particular area. And this conflict also at this moment is also happening in this 8-kilometer zone, which is the most critical as far as this particular issue is concerned. Shawan?
Yeah. And in your map, it's very detailed, the face-off. The map that we are also showing, and Shawan will also take this conversation forward with you. We'll get Shawan through with us. Why don't you take us through the face-off, the location of the face-off, the differing perceptions on the areas that are controlled by India and China. How many points are there around Pangong Tso, and what are these points?
Okay. The map which was referred to earlier, till there are these finger-shaped terrain features which are protruding and coming towards and joining from the north to the Pangong Tso, and these are given names from Finger 1 to Finger 8. And Finger 1, as can be seen on the map, 2 and 3 are well inside the Indian territory where there is no dispute, and our own post is close to Finger 3, between Finger 3 and Finger 2. And then we move ahead and we come to Finger 4. Now, at near Finger 4, there's a place known as administrative base. This is where, when our patrols go for patrolling, they put their the stay back elements there, and so that once they come back, they're able to be received and all. Now, interestingly, and then once you move ahead, Finger 4, 5 until 8. Now, the dispute is from Finger 4 till Finger 8. As you can see that the Chinese have made a road from Sirjap till Finger 4. Now, this was made during the time of the Kargil war, when there was limited troops here. So that is the time this road was constructed by them. And our own road comes about 1 kilometer short of Finger 4 from our post, which has been shown. So there is a gap of about 1.2 kilometers where there is no road. And it's only a foot track which exists. And our patrolling, when we go for patrolling, we have to literally walk on this foot track, move into Finger 4, and then move ahead and complete a task, that is to reach Finger 8. The Chinese, on the other hand, use their vehicles from Sirjap, come all the way till Finger 8, and then they move in vehicles up till Finger 4. So they cannot move ahead of Finger 4 naturally, because there is no road which is ahead of Finger 4. So that is the first thing which people need to understand, is that the dispute is taking place on a already an area which is already marked by a conflict earlier also. It's already a disputed area. The undisputed part of India, which is towards ahead of Finger 4, there is no scope for the Chinese to go in vehicles there. And similarly, we don't go ahead of Finger 8. The Chinese, when we go towards Finger 8, they are very sensitive, to when we reach Finger 8. but we complete our task and we do carry out the patrols. At times, due to various issues, various dynamics which happens at that particular point, the Chinese stop us ahead of finger 8, and then it is reciprocated, and we stop them ahead of finger 4. So the parity exists that whatever action is being carried out by the other side, it is done in the same manner by the Indian side also. By us also we do it, and that is why this conflict happens. The conflict would not have happened if there was no parity. Whatever action is being done on the other side, it is reciprocated in kind by our own troops also. So once the patrols are stopped, then the physical contact of the troops increase. But let me also clarify here that out of 100 times, if the patrols are making these patrols, almost 90% of the time the patrols break off peacefully without having any physical scuffle or such like things. It is only a handful of cases in which the scuffles, it results in scuffles, and out of that, one or two which will escalate into the violence which we could see in the past few days. And then the escalation matrix level reaches in such a manner that you find the quantum of troops coming in increases. And then the next step, which is putting up these tents. These are not classical deployment in a conventional kind of a thing. This is just to show presence, just to show that this is our land. This is we are not happy with the other party. So it's a means of showing the displeasure which both sides have done now. So there's parity there. If they have put the tent, we also put in the tent. Of course, the Chinese have now whatever reports. They are between finger 4 and 8. That is what the status quo has been changed in a rather substantial manner in this area. And these talks will definitely lead to such a situation where the status quo is retained. I also want to add one more thing, is that this is not the first time that these kind of activities are happening in this area. It has been happening throughout. So therefore, I'm very optimistic that this particular talks which are happening will find results, and we will be able to get a breakthrough probably within this talks which is happening today. Shavan?
I have my colleague Shavan also ready with that map that you're referring to. I'd like to toss to him so that you can take it forward. And I also, Shavan, in the course of this conversation with Colonel Dinny, want to talk about the current situation. And while you talk about the map, we can take this conversation forward with Colonel Dinny.
Colonel Dinny, thank you very much, first of all, for this very map, which actually is useful. And Colonel Dinny, just walk us through, because right now what we are doing is putting across this this map on the surface for our viewers to understand what exactly is the topography like in the northern bank of Pangong, because that's essentially emerging as one of the bone of contention. And this is what Colonel Dinny has essentially done. Basically, marked the finger areas, which are basically, why do we call it finger areas? That's in military parlance. These are basically mountain areas which are jutting out, as you can see. And these have been marked as finger 1 all the way, if you can see, till finger 8. Remember, India has one perception of the LSE, and the Chinese have one perception of the LSE, but I'll come to that a little later. But finger 1 to finger 4, as you can see on your screen right now, that has always traditionally been under the Indian control. But however, having said that, India also controls believes that till finger 8 is what is under their control. What you could also look here is the Indian post just a little after finger 3, and here before finger 4 is where the Indian base is. And this is what Colonel Dinny was exactly pointing out. These dotted lines that you are looking at, this is not a motorable road. So if the Indian army is essentially patrolling, they're essentially patrolling till the base here, and from there onwards the Indian army essentially is on the foot, and they carry on their patrolling through finger 4, finger 5, finger 6, finger 7, finger 8. That's where the patrolling takes place. Most of the confrontation of what we do know is that it takes place between finger 4 and finger 8, where Indian army is essentially patrolling on foot. On the other hand, the Chinese too patrol this area, but that is usually done through the road that has been made by the Chinese army. So, Colonel Dinny, if I can also bring in you right now, many would have seen the reports over the last couple of weeks suggesting that perhaps Chinese troops have crossed over finger 4, but there is another picture of where you can see a ledge on that particular finger 4 area, and it's absolutely impossible for any sort of movement to take place on using vehicles. take our viewers through how difficult that terrain has been, because you've been there on the ground, and no one knows better than you, Colonel Dinny, as far as what's the situation like and what is your assessment of the current situation?
Yeah, thank you, Shaman. And as you rightly mentioned, that from Finger 4 towards own territory, that is Indian territory, undisputed, there is no dispute there. It's a barely a foot track. And that foot track also is not, it's a smooth one. It goes down and then again it climbs up. So it is very difficult for even a normal infantryman to walk on that. So there's no question of any Chinese vehicle moving across that. So this perception which was created earlier that the Indian, territory the intrusion took place into Indian territory, at least in this part of Pangong. So I must say that has not happened. Whatever is happening is in the disputed territory. That is already, that has been in dispute for so many years. So there is no intrusion into our undisputed area in this particular area. So that's the first thing which I want to say. Secondly, as you rightly mentioned, this area is extremely tough for the soldiers because of various factors. Like we all know what are the effects of high altitude which is there. It is at 14,000 feet and there is a shortage of oxygen there. There is, the mental and physical endurance is tested to the limits there. And with that background, the troops are carrying out the patrolling, and our troops are carrying out on foot. And yet we are able to maintain the sanctity of what our LAC, which we believe is till finger 8, and there is no doubt that in anybody in our mind that where is the LAC, and we are very clear that it is till finger 8, and we go up till finger 8. The entire conflict is because of this. And that is the third point which I want to convey is that this conflict is happening because there is parity in all actions what we are doing. So when I mention all actions, it is all actions. It is if they are courteous, we are also courteous. And if you are, if they resort to sometimes violent means, then then that is reciprocated. It happens. It can't happen that it is just one-sided. So if the patrol is allowed to complete till finger 8, then definitely those patrols are allowed to complete finger 4. They have boats, we have boats. So there is parity here as far as all actions which are required for the domination of the LAC is all. Right. I want to say on this.
Colonel Dinny, I'll like to interrupt you here right now because I believe we are getting in some breaking news, and I'll just toss over to Niranjan before I come back to you and continue with our coverage as far as this map is concerned and what does it essentially mean as far as the deployment on the ground is concerned.
Yes, Shravan, there is a bit of breaking news. We're getting now an official statement from the Indian Army. The official statement says that India and China are continuing to remain engaged through the established military and diplomatic channels to address the current situation in the India-China border areas. And at this stage, therefore, any speculative and unsubstantiated reporting about these engagements should not be helpful, and media would be advised to refrain from such reporting. Perhaps there has been some misreporting on the issue, and the government putting on record that will undo the efforts that are ongoing. Okay, on this note, we'll take a break, but I have Colonel Thapar joining us on this coverage, along with Shivam Pal, who's based in Beijing. He's a media professional based in Beijing. We'll go to him on the narrative in China right now. China saber-rattling with America and being very, very cautious on India. Colonel Thapar, Shivam Pal coming to you after the break. Stay with us.